Many gardeners notice something frustrating at the end of the growing season. You harvest beautiful carrots, potatoes, or beets in the fall. They look perfect when they come out of the soil, firm, clean, full of color. But then something unexpected happens. Only a few weeks later, some of those vegetables begin to soften, wrinkle, or even rot. And yet many older gardeners remember something different. They remember vegetables lasting nearly the entire winter. Potatoes stored in autumn were still firm months later. Carrots stayed crisp, long after the garden was covered in frost. The surprising part is that the problem often is not the vegetables themselves. In many cases, it is the storage environment we choose. Sometimes the warm, clean place inside the house that seems safest is actually the worst place for long-term storage. If this feels confusing, you are not alone. Many beginner gardeners run into the same problem. Over many growing seasons, gardeners have noticed a quiet pattern. Vegetables tend to stay fresh much longer in cool, dark spaces where the temperature changes slowly. These conditions slow down the natural aging process of the vegetable after harvest. In this video, we will look at several simple ways people recreate those conditions at home. None of them require expensive construction. Some use spaces that already exist around the house, and one of them costs almost nothing at all. Before explaining why these simple storage ideas work so well, it helps to understand what vegetables actually need after they leave the garden. Once a vegetable is harvested, it does not suddenly stop being alive. It continues to breathe slowly, still reacts to temperature, light, and moisture around it. Most root vegetables prefer 3 simple conditions after harvest. They like cool temperatures. They prefer darkness. They benefit from a steady the level of moisture in the air around them. Many homes accidentally create the opposite environment. Indoor heating systems make the air warm and dry during winter. Kitchens and storage rooms often have bright light and constant temperature changes. These conditions may feel comfortable for people, but they speed up the natural aging of many vegetables. Gardeners long ago discovered that underground spaces naturally solve many of these problems. Soil holds temperature steady, it blocks light, and it keeps the surrounding air slightly humid. This is why traditional root cellars worked so well for generations. The earth itself helped protect stored food through the winter months. The encouraging part is that you do not need a large underground room to benefit from these conditions. Many small spaces around a home can quietly mimic the same environment if they are used thoughtfully. In fact, one of the simplest storage areas may already exist in your house. A quiet corner of the basement often stays cooler than the rest of the home. Even a small difference in temperature can make a big difference in how long vegetables stay fresh. When vegetables are placed in wooden crates or ventilated boxes in this cooler space, the basement corner begins to behave like a small root cellar. Airflow is important here. Vegetables store better when air can move gently around them. This helps prevent moisture from collecting in one place. Separation also matters. Potatoes, onions, carrots, and beets should not be packed tightly into a single pile. When vegetables are crowded together, small areas of moisture can develop and encourage spoilage. Many experienced gardeners also place simple materials around their vegetables. Straw, sand, or even newspaper can help control moisture levels and keep vegetables from touching each other directly. Sometimes the best solution is not building something new. It is simply using the spaces you already have in a smarter way. But some gardeners do not have basement space available. In that case, there is another method that surprises many people when they first see it. A clean metal or heavy plastic trash can become a simple underground storage container. When the container is buried partway in the soil outdoors, the surrounding earth begins to regulate the temperature around the vegetables inside. Soil changes temperature slowly. This means the vegetables are protected from sudden warm days or cold nights. The lid of the container helps block rain, pests, and sunlight. A few small air holes allow gentle airflow so moisture does not build up inside. For people with limited indoor space, this buried container method quietly recreates the benefits of a root cellar without large construction projects. Gardeners in colder regions have used similar outdoor storage methods for many years. With the right placement and simple ventilation, vegetables can remain fresh for surprisingly long periods. Another idea comes from something many people already have sitting unused in a garage or shed. An old refrigerator might seem like junk once it stops working, but its original design still has value. Refrigerators were built to hold stable temperatures. When an old refrigerator is unplugged and placed in a cool location like a garage or shed, its insulated walls still slow down temperature changes. By adding a few small ventilation holes, the inside of the refrigerator becomes a simple, insulated storage space. Cool air can move in and out slowly, and moisture does not become trapped. Many gardeners are surprised when they discover this. Even without electricity, the refrigerator continues to perform one of its original tasks. It keeps the interior environment stable. This turns an unused appliance into a low-cost mini root cellar. While these storage methods can work well, there is also a small mistake that many gardeners make without realizing it. It often happens right after harvest. Many people wash their vegetables immediately before storing them. Feels like the responsible thing to do. Clean vegetables seem easier to manage and more hygienic. But extra moisture on the surface of the vegetable can speed up rot during storage. A thin layer of dry soil actually helps protect the outer skin of many root crops. It acts like a natural barrier that slows down moisture loss and prevents small infections. Another quiet mistake happens during harvest itself. Vegetables that receive small cuts or bruises often spoil much faster in storage. The damage may not look serious at first, but over the course of several weeks, those small injuries allow bacteria and fungi to enter the vegetable. Experienced growers usually store only the healthiest vegetables for long winter storage. The ones with small damage are used first in the kitchen. These small habits may seem simple, but they make a noticeable difference over time. Now we come to the idea that surprises many viewers the most. Simple plastic bucket with a lid can become a small underground storage container. And many people already have buckets at home. When a bucket is buried in the soil and filled with sand or straw, it begins to create the same cool environment that traditional root cellars provide. The surrounding earth regulates the temperature naturally. The bucket walls protect the vegetables from pests. The lid blocks sunlight and rain. Inside the bucket, vegetables rest in a stable environment where temperature changes slowly. Because buckets are easy to find and easy to bury, this method often costs almost nothing, yet it can protect vegetables for weeks or even months during the colder part of the year. Sometimes the simplest solutions turn out to be the most practical ones. It is also important to remember that storage methods behave a little differently depending on climate. Gardeners in colder northern regions often rely on deeper underground storage because winter temperatures drop sharply. Deeper soil layers stay closer to a stable temperature just above freezing. In warmer regions, winters may not become cold enough for deep storage methods to work the same way. In these areas, shaded outdoor spaces, garages, or partially buried containers may be more effective. The goal remains the same in every climate. Vegetables store best when temperatures stay cool and steady, usually just above freezing. Understanding. This allows gardeners to adapt these ideas rather than copying them exactly. Observation matters more than perfect construction. Once you begin watching how temperature behaves around your home, you will start to notice which areas stay cooler and more stable during the winter months. A few small precautions can also help keep these storage systems working safely. Outdoor containers should be checked occasionally for excess moisture. Too much moisture can encourage mold or spoilage. Ventilation holes should remain small enough to keep rodents from entering the container. Even simple wire mesh over small openings can help prevent this problem. It can also be helpful to label storage containers and keep track of what was placed inside them. Some vegetables store longer than others. Using the older ones first helps prevent waste. These habits do not require daily effort. Quick check now and then is usually enough to keep things working smoothly. If you are comfortable sharing, I would be curious to know how you currently store vegetables after harvest. Many gardeners discover useful ideas simply by hearing what works for others. The most important lesson from traditional root cellars is surprisingly simple. Vegetables store best when the environment does most of the work for you. Cool soil, darkness, and steady air quietly protect harvested food for months at a time. These natural conditions slow down the changes that cause vegetables to spoil. Instead of constant effort, experienced gardeners often focus on observing how their surroundings behave. They notice which places stay cooler, which areas remain shaded, and how moisture changes during the season. Once you begin noticing these patterns, storing vegetables through the winter becomes much easier. In many ways, the garden teaches the same lesson again and again. The best results often come from understanding the environment rather than forcing constant action. Sometimes, the garden improves when we simply step back and observe. Do a little less, watch a little more, and allow nature to quietly do the rest.